When a woman's attraction is no longer innocent, the first place it reveals itself is not in what she says, but in how she challenges you. She begins to test your masculine frame, often without even realizing she's doing it. These tests are subtle. They're not dramatic confrontations or obvious mind games. They show up as small disagreements, playful disrespect, emotional fluctuations, or moments where she pushes against your boundaries just enough to see what happens next. Psychologically, this is instinctive. Attraction creates uncertainty inside her. On one hand, she feels drawn to you. On the other, that attraction creates risk of vulnerability, loss of control, or emotional exposure. So her mind looks for safety. And the way she looks for safety is by checking your emotional stability. Can you remain calm when challenged? Can you hold your ground without aggression? Can you stay grounded without needing her approval? This is why she might tease you a little harder than necessary, question your decisions, or casually challenge your opinions in front of others. Not to disrespect you, but to observe you. She's watching closely. Does he get reactive? Does he try to impress me? Does he collapse into people-pleasing? Or does he stay centered, unbothered, and self-assured? From a philosophical perspective, attraction moves toward strength, but not brute strength, inner strength, emotional sovereignty, the ability to remain unchanged by external pressure. When her attraction is innocent, she doesn't need this confirmation. But when it's intense, when it carries desire, she needs to know if you're a safe place to land emotionally. Many men fail here because they misunderstand the test. They either overreact, trying to assert dominance, or they over-explain, trying to gain validation. Both responses signal insecurity, and insecurity weakens attraction, even when desire is present. But when you respond with calm clarity, when you don't rush to defend yourself, when you don't seek approval, when you remain playful yet grounded, you communicate something powerful without saying a word. You show her that your sense of self doesn't depend on her reactions, that you are not trying to win her, but willing to walk your own path. This is where attraction deepens, not because you tried harder, but because you needed less. She begins to feel something rare, emotional safety combined with tension. Respect mixed with desire. That combination is never innocent. At a deeper level, these tests are not about you proving anything to her. They are about her resolving something within herself. She is deciding whether she can surrender control without losing herself, whether she can allow desire without feeling weak. And the way you hold your frame gives her the answer. The key is restraint. You don't punish the test. You don't reward it either. You simply remain yourself, consistent, composed, and self-directed. This quiet confidence creates gravity. It draws her in without effort. And here's the truth most men never hear. When her attraction is not innocent, she is not looking for perfection. She is looking for presence. Someone who doesn't bend under emotional pressure. Someone who doesn't need to dominate or submit. Someone who stands firm, quietly. When her attraction stops being innocent, her attention changes in a very specific way. It's no longer evenly distributed, polite, or casual. It becomes selective, focused, intentional, and this is one of the clearest signs that what she feels goes beyond surface-level interest. Attraction, psychologically, is a narrowing of awareness. When someone truly desires you, their mind begins to filter the world differently. Out of all the noise, all the people, all the stimuli around her, you start standing out. She notices things about you that others miss. She remembers details you mentioned once in passing. She tracks your moods, your energy, your patterns, not because she's trying to impress you, but because her mind is already invested. This is where many men misread the situation. They assume attention equals friendliness, but friendly attention is broad and effortless. It's evenly spread. Selective attention, on the other hand, requires energy, and people only invest energy where emotion already exists. You'll notice this in small but telling ways. She asks questions that go beyond surface talk. She follows up on things you said days or weeks ago. She becomes curious about your thinking, not just your life. When you speak, she listens differently, not politely, intently, as if she's trying to understand you, not just hear you. From a philosophical standpoint, this is desire seeking meaning. When attraction deepens, it wants context. It wants to know who you are beneath the surface, because desire without understanding feels unstable. So she studies you quietly, subconsciously. And here's the part that matters. She doesn't do this with everyone. Even if she's social, warm, or outgoing, This kind of attention is reserved. It has direction, and direction reveals intention. Sometimes this selective attention shows up as inconsistency. She may disappear briefly, then return with heightened interest. This isn't indifference, it's internal conflict. Her attraction pulls her toward you, while her ego or logic tells her to maintain distance. But notice this, when she comes back, the attention is sharper, more personal, more emotionally tuned. This is also why she reacts more strongly to your presence or absence than she should, given the situation. If you're gone, she notices. If you're quiet, she senses it. Innocent attraction doesn't create that level of emotional awareness. Desire does. What's important here is how you respond. Many men make the mistake of chasing this attention or leaning into it too aggressively. They start oversharing, over-texting, over-investing, and in doing so, they break the very dynamic that created the attraction. Selective attention should be met with grounded presence, not hunger. You acknowledge it without clinging to it. You engage without consuming it. Because when you show that you don't depend on her focus, you elevate its value. At a deeper level, her selective attention is her way of asking a silent question: is this connection safe to deepen? Is this man centered enough to handle being seen? Because to truly focus on someone is to risk vulnerability. And if you remain calm, self-directed, and emotionally disciplined, you answer that question without words. You don't need to call out her interest. You don't need to label it. You simply allow it to exist while continuing to live from your own purpose. That's what keeps attraction from becoming diluted. When her attraction is no longer innocent, it doesn't express itself in a straight line. It creates tension, emotional tension. And then, almost immediately, she pretends that tension was accidental. This is where desire hides when it's powerful but restrained. She pulls you in just enough to feel something and then steps back as if nothing happened. Psychologically, this push and pull is not confusion. It's self-control under pressure. She feels the emotional charge between you, but she doesn't fully trust where it might lead. So instead of committing to it or shutting it down completely, she manages it. She opens the door slightly, then closes it again, watching how both of you respond. You'll see this in the way conversations unfold. She brings up personal topics unexpectedly, your values, your past, your ambitions. She creates moments that feel intimate, meaningful, emotionally charged, and then, just as quickly, she shifts the tone, changes the subject, adds humor, pulls back emotionally, as if to say, that didn't mean anything, even though it clearly did. From a philosophical lens, tension is the space where desire grows, but tension also threatens the ego because it reduces control. So her mind tries to regulate it. She wants the feeling, but not the vulnerability that comes with acknowledging it. This is why her behavior may feel paradoxical. One moment she's deeply engaged, emotionally present, almost magnetic. The next, she's distant, neutral, or guarded. Many men misinterpret this as manipulation or indecision. In reality, it's containment. She is containing something that feels bigger than she XP. What matters here is how you interpret the pullback. If you assume rejection, you collapse the tension. If you chase reassurance, you expose neediness. And if you confront her emotionally, you force her ego to defend itself. All three responses kill the dynamic. The key is understanding that emotional tension doesn't need to be resolved immediately. In fact, trying to resolve it too soon destroys its power. When you allow the tension to exist without demanding clarity, you show emotional maturity. You show that you're not afraid of ambiguity. And ambiguity is where attraction often lives. This is also where your self-control becomes attractive. You don't escalate prematurely. You don't retreat emotionally. You remain present, grounded, and steady. You allow her to feel what she feels without trying to label it or rush it. At a deeper level, she is testing whether you can hold emotional energy without needing to discharge it, whether you can be calm in uncertainty, whether you can enjoy connection without trying to own it. These are not games, they are subconscious evaluations of emotional strength. And here's the paradox most men miss. The more comfortable you are with the tension, the less she needs to fight it. When she sees that closeness doesn't automatically lead to pressure, expectation, or loss of control, her resistance softens. Eventually, one of two things happens. Either the tension deepens into honesty, or it dissolves because she cannot sustain it. Both outcomes require patience. Neither requires force. Your role is not to decode every signal, but to remain stable while signals come and go. to stay anchored in yourself while emotions fluctuate RO and you. That stability is rare, and rarity creates value. Another place where attraction reveals itself, long before words ever do, is in the body. When her attraction is not innocent, your presence doesn't just register in her mind, it alters her state. The moment you enter the room, something shifts. Her posture changes, her tone adjusts, her energy recalibrates. These changes are subtle, but they are automatic, and that's precisely why they matter from a psychological standpoint. The body reacts faster than the ego can intervene. Conscious thought can lie. Language can be filtered, but the nervous system responds instantly to perceived emotional significance. When she is drawn to you on a deeper level, her body signals it before she has time to decide how she wants to appear. You may notice her becoming more animated or strangely quieter. She may straighten up, become more self-aware, or suddenly adjust her appearance. Her voice may soften or sharpen. Her movements may become more deliberate. These are not performances, they are reflexes, and reflexes reveal desire far more honestly than conversation ever will. This is why her mood may seem to change the moment you arrive. She may appear more energized, more alert, more emotionally tuned, or in some cases more guarded. Both reactions point to the same thing: you matter. Innocent attraction doesn't disrupt emotional equilibrium. Real desire does. Philosophically, this speaks to the concept of presence. Certain people carry a psychological weight that alters the environment around them. When she feels drawn to you, your presence becomes a stimulus. It activates her awareness, and awareness is the gateway to attract. Many men miss this sign because they're too focused on what she's saying, not how she's being. They listen for compliments, validation, or obvious flirtation, but the truth is quieter. It's in the pauses, the shifts, the unspoken reactions. Attraction that isn't innocent often avoids verbal exposure, but it cannot hide physiologically. What's important here is restraint. If you notice these changes and immediately act on them, by seeking reassurance, escalating prematurely, or calling attention to them, you collapse the dynamic. You pull something subconscious into the conscious too quickly. And when that happens, her ego steps in to regain control. Instead, you stay observant, not reactive. You allow her nervous system to adjust in your presence without pressure. You don't demand alignment. You let it happen naturally. This is also where your own presence matters deeply. If you're anxious, seeking approval, or overly invested, her body will sense that too. Nervous systems communicate. Calm invites calm. Groundedness invites safety. When you remain steady, you become an anchor. And anchors are attractive because they offer stability amid emotional activation. At a deeper level, her altered behavior is her body asking a question: can I be myself around this man? Can I feel something without losing control? Can I relax into this energy, or do I need to protect myself? You answer those questions not with words, but with how you hold yourself, with composure, with emotional discipline, with self-respect. Eventually, if the attraction is real, her body stops resisting what her mind has been denying. Her movements soften. Her energy settles. She becomes more comfort, able being seen. That transition from guarded to open is not innocent. It's the body surrendering before the ego does. When attraction crosses the line from innocent to charged, it doesn't just pull her toward you. It awakens something territorial. And this is where her behavior becomes quietly possessive, even though she hasn't claimed you and may never openly admit wanting you. The possessiveness is subtle, indirect, and often disguised as humor, curiosity, or concern. But beneath it lies desire that wants security without exposure. Psychologically, possessiveness is not about ownership, it's about perceived value. We instinctively protect what we fear losing. When she feels deeply drawn to you, your attention becomes important, and anything that threatens that attention triggers a response, even if she has no formal right to it. That response may be small, but it's revealing. You might notice this when other women enter the picture. Her mood shifts slightly. She becomes quieter, sharper, or more engaged than before. She may ask questions that seem casual on the surface: who was that? Or do you talk to her often? But the emotional charge underneath is unmistakable. Innocent attraction doesn't monitor competition. Desire does. From a philosophical angle, this reflects attachment trying to form while the ego resists commitment. She wants proximity, exclusivity, reassurance, but without the vulnerability of declaring interest. So the ego finds workarounds. It masks possessiveness as indifference. It hides concern inside jokes. It expresses discomfort through subtle changes in energy rather than direct confrontation. Many men misinterpret this behavior. They either ignore, it completely, or exploit it for validation. Both responses weaken attraction. Ignoring it dismisses emotional investment. Exploiting it turns desire into insecurity. The power lies in awareness without reaction. When you remain calm in the presence of her subtle jealousy, you communicate abundance. You show that you are not controlled by her reactions nor dependent on them. And paradoxically, that increases her desire, because what she wants most in that moment is certainty, not control. This is also where emotional maturity becomes attractive. You don't provoke jealousy to test her. You don't reassure her unnecessarily. You don't alter your behavior to manage her emotions. You simply remain consistent, respectful, and self-directed. That consistency tells her something powerful. Your attention is earned, not negotiated. At a deeper level, her possessiveness is not about other women. It's about her internal conflict. She feels something strong but hasn't yet decided what to do with it. The possessiveness is her emotional self asserting value before her conscious mind has caught up. And here's the critical point. If you handle this phase correctly, you allow her attraction to mature. If you handle it poorly, you trigger defensiveness. Pressure makes her retreat. Stability makes her lean in. This is why you never challenge her possessiveness directly. You don't ask, "Are you jealous?" You don't force clarity. You allow the feeling to exist without naming it. Because once named too early, it becomes something her ego feels compelled to deny. What you offer instead is grounded leadership. You continue living your life with purpose. You remain open, but not available on demand. You show warmth without surrendering your center. Eventually, her behavior will align with her feelings or it won't. Either outcome brings clarity, and clarity is always better than confusion. When attraction is no longer innocent, it eventually reaches a point where denial and proximity exist at the same time. This is one of the clearest contradictions you'll ever witness. She stays close to you emotionally, physically, mentally, while verbally minimizing, dismissing, or outright denying what she feels. And this contradiction is not confusion, it's fear negotiating with desire. Psychologically, this happens when attraction has crossed an internal threshold. She can't simply walk away because the emotional pull is too strong. But she also can't fully step forward, because doing so would mean admitting vulnerability, desire, and potential loss of control. So she finds a middle ground, closeness without confession. You'll see this in how she finds reasons to stay connected. She checks in under harmless pretenses. She starts conversations that don't need to happen. She keeps emotional threads alive, even when logic says she shouldn't. She may say she's not looking for anything, or that you're just friends, or that she's busy or focused on herself. But her behavior contradicts her words. She remains present. From a philosophical perspective, this is desire trying to exist without identity. She doesn't want to be the woman who wants you, at least not yet, because once desire has an identity, it has consequences, expectations, exposure, risk, so she keeps it undefined while still feeding it. This is where many men sabotage themselves. They try to resolve the contradiction. They ask for clarity. They push for labels. They demand honesty. But when you do that too early, you force her ego to defend itself. An ego will always choose self-protection over truth if it feels cornered. The strength here lies in restraint. You don't argue with her denial. You don't try to convince her she feels something. You don't call out the inconsistency. You let actions speak louder than explanations, because actions always reveal where emotion truly lives. At a deeper level, her closeness is her emotional self reaching for regulation. You make her feel something, grounded, seen, alive, calm, challenged, and she doesn't want to lose access to that state. So she stays near the source, even if she refuses to name it. What matters most is how you position yourself in this phase. If you accept closeness without self-respect, you become an emotional convenience. If you withdraw completely, you create unnecessary rupture. The balance is presence without permission seeking, warmth without dependence, availability without sacrifice of self. You continue to live your life. You continue to act with purpose. You don't rearrange yourself around her indecision. And paradoxically, this is what creates safety, because you show her that closeness doesn't mean loss of autonomy for either of you. This is also the phase where attraction either matures or collapses. If she feels pressured, she retreats into ego. If she feels safe, she relaxes into honesty. But that decision is hers alone. Your job is not to pull her forward, but to remain solid where you stand. And here's the quiet truth most men never hear. When a woman stays close while denying desire, she is already emotionally invested. The denial is not absence of feeling, it's fear of surrender.